Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Opinion Machine, the show where we talk about all things gaming. My name is Killjoy, and today we're going to talk about the recently released Season 3 for Deep Rock Galactic. A game that I keep coming back to every time they release a new season. This particular season is called Plaguefall, and the whole theme of it now is a plague, all this meteorites that are flying past Hoxis, which is the place that you mine on. It's covered in plague, and it's affecting the wildlife, and it's causing some new events. Now, credit where credit's due, these guys do, they're a smallish team. I think it's Ghost Ship Games is the name of the guys that make Deep Rock, published by Coffee Stain Studios, and they keep pumping out these seasons probably every sort of 6 months. I think it's about 6 months, maybe a little bit longer, and I'm okay with this because, small studio, that gives them plenty of time to work on the other seasons between it. And they don't have to worry about doing anything too crazy too often. Some games do seasons quite regularly, sort of every 2 to 3 months. Anyway, so Plaguefall. What are we getting in Plaguefall? Now, Plaguefall's a bit different because in the last 2 seasons, we got main guns with core unlocks. We got secondary guns in the second season with core unlocks. And in this time, we've got the main thing is the 4 new grenades. So 1 new grenade for each class. To my knowledge, no core unlocks. And so you have the 4 new grenades is one thing, and you have 2... essentially a lithophage, which is a type of I forgot what the term is. Like when you go into a mission, it's a type of mission, a modifier. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. And there's also meteors that can appear and occur during missions as well. So let's start with the grenades because I think these are big gameplay changes. And we'll start with the driller's one. It's called the Ripper, and essentially what the driller gets is a spring-loaded saw blade that you chuck down and it zips across the floor, pretty much one-shots most small creatures in one hit. And this thing will keep going in a direction, and it will go up walls, it will go up ceilings, and it is best used in tight tunnels because what you can essentially do is you can chuck it. If you're in like a cylindrical tunnel, it will keep going round and round and round and round. Eventually it will run out, but this thing will basically cover an area and turn it into a meat grinder. So if you've got a small tunnel, you chuck one of these down, all your grunts are running towards you, it will just chop them up, no problem. Very, very powerful, very unique style of grenade, and also quite difficult to use. Sometimes you'll chuck it and it will just go flying off and you won't see it again, and other times it will come back and you'll hear it and it'll hit you. Does a lot of damage to you, not so much to your allies, but that thing will take off your shields very quickly. Like the driller in good fashion, it's very dangerous to your teammates, so that's always fun. Then we have the engineer who has the SSG. Now, I don't know what what SSG stands for, but essentially what this grenade lets you do is summon a bunch of the little robots, the little annoying robots, buzzers, I forget what they're called now. But essentially the robots you had during the last couple of seasons, the ones that will fly up in shredders, sorry, that's what they're called, shredders, the little one. You summon like 5 of them, and this thing is nuts. It lasts about a minute, if not a little bit longer. And it will they basically shred up the enemies. Like, they'll all fly towards one enemy, cut them up, and then as soon as that one dies, they're on to the next one. It's a crazy grenade. It's very powerful. And it's kind of fun. You just get to see, because they'll follow you around, and as soon as the enemies come by, they just jump on the enemies and shred them up very, very fast. Great for clearing out, again, grunts and anything that's like lower health, because it'll just destroy them. But suits the engineer down to a T. I think it's a really good grenade, that one. We then have the gunner, who has the lead burster, which is one of the craziest grenades in this game now, in terms of what it does. Essentially, it's like a little turret that you chuck down. It's got a bunch of guns attached to it, and it spins around, I think, 3 times, and it just shoots in every direction possible. By the end of the time it's firing, there's just holes everywhere, and this thing will shred up everything. This is like, if you imagine an explosion, imagine that, but instead of it's got the radius of an explosion, but it's all all bullets that get fired. And if you've got a big wave of things, you can chuck it to the ceiling, you can chuck it to the wall, you can just stick it onto the ground, and it will just spin, and like almost like a sprinkler, like a water sprinkler, it just shoots bullets in every direction, and it's overkill, which I kind of love for the gunner. I think that's kind of one of the funniest things. Having one of these, you just chuck it down and then everything just dies, which is a lot of fun. And then you've got the Scouts one, which is probably my favourite, which is like the Voltic Stun Sweeper, but it's essentially a boomerang. You get a lot of them, and if you miss with it, it'll come back and you can throw it again. And what this thing does is you chuck it out and it will bounce between the enemies, causing a little bit of shock damage. But this thing is crazy because it will one-shot shredders pretty much and take them out. If there are swarmers, it'll pretty much just kill them in one shot. And if there's only a couple of enemies, it'll bounce between those enemies really fast and it'll actually do a significant amount of damage. Out of all the grenades, I think this one is by far the most ridiculous one, because it will hit so many targets. If you have, like, I'm not sure what they're called, but the lightning enemies that fly at you and zap your shield, if you've got, like, say 10 of them flying at you, you just chuck one of these boomerangs and it'll just one-shot all of them and kill them. No, it's almost like it almost takes away that challenge. It's a bit too good, and I do think this boomerang will probably get nerfed later on. But the 4 grenades are an awesome addition. I really, really like what they've added here. There's a nice variety. I actually kind of hope they add more grenades in down the line, because I feel like they can do some really silly stuff. The Ripper is probably the coolest in terms of what it does, but it's probably, in my opinion, it's probably the weakest. That or the Lead Burster, which sounds crazy because it will still one-shot stuff. It's just very difficult to use. Whereas the SSG, the Shredder Grenade, and the Boomerang are really powerful. I feel like they're the ones you definitely want to take if you have like a lot of like grunts and things to deal with. So that's one of the main new features, is these grenades that they've added in for each class. The other two, sort of, because it's all based on this plague, there are two. There's a mission modifier, which is Lithophage, and what this basically is, you go into a mission, and it's where the plague had started to essentially take over parts of the map, and you have to go in, and it adds in a new gameplay mechanic where one of you has essentially like a power wash, like foam gun, and the other person has a hoover. So what you do is you cover an area, and then you use the hoover to suck up the rock pox, as they call it, the disease, and once you've gotten rid of enough of it, it just cleanses the area. Now what's cool about this is it gives you a couple of new enemy types. You've got the Glyphid grunts that are infected, and also the Praetorians, and what this basically does is you no longer want to shoot them in the face or in their weak points. They have multiple like blobs on them, and you need to shoot the blobs to kill them quickly. If you shoot those, they'll die pretty fast. If you shoot them anywhere else, however, it takes a lot more punishment, and this is the thing with this season, is you're going to need a lot more ammo, and that's the thing that I think was is probably a good change, is that, you know, a lot of the time we'd finish with a lot of nitro and not have to use it, and now when you have these kind of missions, you feel like, oh crap, I actually need to think about it, and I'm using a lot more ammo. You need to pick your shots. It punishes you if you just try and tank them down normally. Like, you will run out of ammo fast. But the Lithophage things can be fine. They are a little bit annoying when they're in some weird positions, but overall it is a cool addition to it, and they are fun. And that can vary. I think I've seen between 1 and 3, so you have a choice of getting 1, 2 or 3 on a mission, I think. Other than that, you have the Meteors. Now the Meteors contain basically this season's like thing to get that will give you script. And essentially a meteor will come down. You tag the meteor, these things called rock crackers come down, you attach them, and then you power them up, and it begins to smash through the meteor. During this time you can defend enemies, you can repair them. And once you crack open a meteor, you are presented with plague hearts, which are these things that are essentially causing the rock pox. You take them back, and you need 6 of them to gain 1 script. Now luckily, you will generally, if your big meteor comes down, you'll either get 3 or 4. So you only need 2 big meteors to get 1 script. What they have done, and this is more recent, is they've added in these mini meteors that you can actually break open with your pickaxe, and they have a chance to have a plague heart in them. I've only had it, so I've got 1, but if you have 5 meteor drops, you might get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It just depends. I'm not sure on the exact amount of how many plague hearts you'll get from it, but if you get lucky, you'll get a few from that. And it is possible to get a big meteor and a little meteor, and vice versa, and things like that. So you can leave a mission with like 5 or 6. It's kind of cool. But these things are fun. I really like the meteors. I prefer the meteors to the Lithophage stuff, just because Lithophage can be a little bit annoying when you're trying to squirt it and it's just in awkward positions. But it's not bad. Whereas the meteor stuff is just fun. You have to run away from the landing zone so it doesn't crush you. You get to hear like almost like an alarm going off before it happens, and they've tweaked it a little bit since releasing it. It makes it a lot of fun, and especially when it's quiet in the cave, and you hear this like this rumbling, and you're like, oh crap! You like open up the map, see where it's going to come down. Really, really fun like that. And then last off, they've a couple of things. So they've actually added some new types of sort of randomly generated maps. I've come across some new styles of maps, shall we say. So the maps are obviously procedurally generated, but now I've got some crazy one. I got one that was like almost like spider legs going in all these different directions, all these little caves intertwining. That was really fun. But new styles of maps, things opening up, and I think that's cool. But you know, you've got the season unlocks as well. So you have the season tracker, if you will, and then you have the cosmetics tree. And the cosmetics tree is really cool this season. You obviously have a lot to get on there. There's a lot of points of resources. There are a ton of points for cosmetics. There's one new victory pose on there. And then there's a new type of skins for the guns called the mil-spec, which makes them look very private military corp kind of design, which is fun. And honestly, like, I really like the fact that you have the tracker that gives you rewards, and you have that script cosmetic tree thing that gives you rewards. And none of this is the great thing about these guys. You don't have to buy any of it because it's all free. They do release DLC. They released the Plagueful, I've forgotten what it's called, like cosmetic DLC, which is about $5.99 or $7.99. I'm not sure on the exact amount of that. That's in pounds, not dollars. And you gain a bunch of skins and stuff as well. Now, something I really appreciate about these guys is that they'll always bring out downloadable DLC that you can buy, and I think people buy it because what they're giving away in the tracker and what they're giving away in the cosmetic tree, they could sell, you know. But there is no premium pass to this, and I really respect it, and it makes me think, you know, this smaller studio can do it, why can't bigger studios do it? But essentially, you get the usual stuff in the tracker. So as you level up, you get script, you get resources, you get unlockable mustaches and beards and paint skins, like just a ton of things like that. And the same with the cosmetic tree. I do like the fact that the cosmetic tree, you can kind of pick and choose where you want to go. You don't have to work particularly to one side or another. There's a new headpiece that makes you look like you're underwater. I just put all my points and went directly to that, and now I can go back and get the others. They added in a platinum paint job color, which looks phenomenal, which I really like that. And there's just tons of free stuff here, and you just, you know, you get to play the game with a bunch of new modifiers, with new things to do, and you get a ton of free stuff. You get a ton of, like I said, resources and cosmetics, and that's like, it's great that you don't have to charge for that. Overall, I think it seems a little bit of a excuse me, a little bit of a smaller season, and I think that's because this isn't a major weapon or a secondary weapon and then cores on top of it. This is more about just, you know, a little bit less than that. There's nothing wrong with it because it's completely free. Like, I'm not going to sit here and rag on it because it's maybe doesn't feel as there's as much stuff, but you're getting essentially 100 new levels to work through, which is a mixture of script, cosmetics, and resources. You've got the cosmetic tree, so all that stuff's free, just playing the game. And then you have the lithophage modifier, and then you have the meteors jumping in, and so you get new gameplay anyway, as well as the old one, the robots, whatever it was called, where you get all the robots on a level. That's still in there. They've obviously added other things in. There's a ton of new dialogue now, tons of new lines, and it's things like that that I really appreciate. I actually look forward to the lines they've added in. Like, if you keep clicking on gold, management complains. If you keep clicking on a mushroom, management complains. There's new lines that the characters say, and those things where they added the new dialogue, like, that's the stuff that I look forward to. I really like the humor in this game. But yeah, overall, I'm enjoying my time with that. I'm about level 30, I think, through the levels. I'm having a good time with it. My only niggle is sometimes the lithophage is just a bit like awkward to deal with, but other than that, it's a good season. I'm pretty sure they're looking at doing a couple. They've got at least plans of doing more seasons. And I hope they mix it up again next time, because I liked the robot stuff. It was 2 seasons of it was maybe a bit much, but I still enjoyed it. Like the sort of story that's going on there. I like what they're doing now, and I hope down the line they do something even crazier. I imagine, so we've got this season out now. I imagine we won't see another season until sort of May time next year, maybe April, but honestly, I like the fact these guys are willing to give themselves a nice long period of time. They put out a season. You got plenty of time. You got like holiday seasons and Easter and all these other ones, they add in little bits for people to game, and it's all free. And I just have mad respect for these guys, so great work to them, and I hope they keep it up. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching this video as always. If you liked the video, hit the like button. If you want to see more content like this, then hit subscribe. Links for Facebook and Twitter will be down below in the description as always. And until next video, I will see you then.